the center screw in first because there's actually a little metal bracket clip deal that goes on one of the ends here. So center screw first. It's actually too tight. Next is this little bracket piece that I was speaking of. Why it's there, don't know. But put everything back how I find it so it stays. Okay. And you actually can tighten these screws too tight to where the buttons won't work. So you do need to make sure that you're not over tightening them. Before you put this thing all back together, press the buttons. Just make sure that they're actually pressing and that the hold switch is actually working. Because if it's not, you get it all back together, you're going to be really pissed. And the power button, again, make sure that it's pressing. Now that we got that, we'll go ahead and throw this back in place. Okay, got that back in place. Throw the battery back in here. Make sure that you're feeding this little cable back through how it was. If you mangled the crap out of this adhesive, you may have to relay adhesive, which is easy. You just obviously take the strip and lay it wherever the battery lays. It's not a big deal. Otherwise, most of the time, that adhesive's so strong and ridiculous that you can just stick it back in there and it doesn't fall out. So whatever adhesive they use, it's some good stuff. But I just go around, make sure that it is in place. You don't want it falling loose when you're trying to work on stuff. So good there. Next, we'll throw our speaker assembly with the Wi-Fi back in its spot. Again, this adhesive usually is so strong that you don't have to redo it. Now, click that back in. We'll screw this sucker down. Next, we're going to drop the board in place. If you didn't notice, by the way, these are actually the contacts, the pins, the battery terminal pins here for the battery, which make connection with the board and the contacts on the board at the bottom here. So screwing this back down is actually plugging this thing up, and if you press the power button, it will turn on just if I'm holding it like that. Obviously, it's got to be plugged in though. So we're going to go ahead and screw this back down. And actually, remembering where these screws go is pretty important on this particular model because all screws are different sizes on this one. So you do want to make sure you're sticking the screws back where they belong. And This is a headphone jack. Plug in our speaker assembly. Headphone jack's already plugged in. Make sure it didn't become loose or unplugged. Looks good to me. I'm not going to plug this in until the very end, until I got everything going. That way I don't accidentally power the unit on while I'm working on it. Again, now we're back to that. Which one goes where? Which one goes where? Well, that's why we made the black mark. Or you can just remember. It's pretty easy to remember. So just plug these cables back up. Then you got to stick this guy back on there. This actually just holds it in its place. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get this thing back on. I don't really know. It comes off super easy, but getting it back on is kind of a hassle. It like clicks in very weird. You kind of got to wiggle it around till you find that sweet spot. Actually, that clicked in perfect for me, but usually I got to sit there and play with it a little bit. Kind of just got to move it back and forth until it slides into the right spot and gets in the right place there. Once you got that, you kind of just need to guide these cables a little bit. Make sure that they're... Just make sure that it's sitting properly and it's going into the right spot. You can plug that in there. And we'll go ahead and screw this down. Put the screw in the center. And the last two screws, which holds down the charging port, keeps it plugged in. So if you drop it or anything like that, it stays plugged in and working. Also, something else I kind of want to point out is this little spot right here. If you notice, nothing was ever plugged into that. That's actually for the 3G version. The 3G version has some stuff up here and then plugs in right here actually. And then it also will have another little board right here. See, these connectors are empty. There's actually a connector that goes in there, and that board sits in and then plops down. You screw the board down. So that is actually the 3G version. Will have that extra board and whatever plugs in here. I can't remember precisely what it is. It's obviously having to do with the 3G connection. Oh, you know what it is? It's the SIM card tray. That's what it is. SIM card tray would go right here, and that's where it would plug into. Now we will plug the power button in. And our assembly here.